Hello, and today I wanted to do a video on the migration of self, of your personal self, into a new narrative of your life. And so, what I mean by that is, as you continue to live in your new space, as you continue to live the new version of you, sooner or later you will start to face, or you'll start to notice the all the preconceived notions and preconceived definitions that you have placed within yourself, that are in fact dictating and guiding your life, until 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 the point of recognition. You simply walk and function within all the definitions and filters and beliefs that you have, right? You don't have a problem with them. You don't even recognize they exist, and you simply live in the space where you almost blindly are walking a path towards something that is being dictated by you, but at the same time you feel like you are the an object receiving an output from the world, right? And so what I wanted to touch on and to distinguish here is that your definitions of self and of everything around you is defining and dictating your actual future, right? It's dictating your present moment. It is dictating your past. It is dictating everything around you, right? And so at any one moment, you could choose, or you can become cognitively aware of the definitions that you place within your parameters of self. And so I will draw on the example. For example, you could live in the life where you're walking in the definition of lesser than, right? And most of us, I believe, have this three-dimensional thought, or have this three-dimensional idea behind us of lesser than, right? And so you, maybe even unbeknownst to yourself right now, you're walking a path where you're just in this one concept, are kind of ping-ponging or sending out these signals of evaluation of your world around you, and then where you fit in into every one moment, literally every moment of your life, right? And so let's take the concept of lesser than, right? As you wake up in the morning, right, you get out of bed, right, and automatically within that moment you will draw a definition subconsciously, right, without yourself even knowing, of how is it that you feel today, how is it that you feel right now, right? You would go, oh, I feel great, or I feel kind of yucky, or oh, I feel sick, or I feel achy, or oh, I hate today, could just I have to have that meeting today, or whatever. That first initial reaction in the morning will preset your definition of how you think your day will go, right? And so there will be lesser than lines of thought that will actually conclude and lead that day to go really exactly how you planned it, based on your definition of in the morning, right? And so then the next morning, or the next minute, right, or the next moment, as you walk out of the door and you get your cup of coffee or make your morning tea, you then make another, right? And of course there are hundreds of ones before that, but you make a definition of, like, what do you put on it in the morning, right? Oh, I feel lesser than, or I feel more than, right? And then your clothing of choice of how you feel or what you're wearing then will somehow define who you are in that moment, right? If you making your coffee and it just doesn't taste right, then by default that is lesser than the normal, right? Or this is better than the normal, right? And so through your life, as you're walking this path, for every single thought and every single possible emotion or feeling or or what we would call a three-dimensional matrix of existence, you will have a self-evaluation against every thought, right? Like better or not, lesser than or not, worthy or not. And so everything everything that we experience in our life is filtered through some kind of filter, right? So our set of beliefs that we just extrapolate out and kind of send out these signals in the world, right? And so step one is becoming one, cognitively aware that you're subconsciously designing and orchestrating your life, and in fact filtering and designing these path of filters of where you as a human being fit in that any one moment, right? Or any one day, or in that meeting, right? You could walk into the meeting and you would automatically, through this filtering of self, would use a judgment call and define where you fit against each member at the table, right? You will position where you think where they are on some sort of scale versus where you are on some sort of scale, and then you will assume that and act accordingly to this filter, right? But so one, recognizing that this is done all the time, 24/7, millisecond by every time, and you do this, unstoppably. And then two, recognizes once you become aware of this step of existence, what is it that you are filtering against? What is it that you are defining yourself against, right? And so the ultimate point of awakening, or the ultimate point of this merging of self, is recognizing that the filtering or evaluation or baselines are no longer necessary, right? You can stop baselining yourself against the world, right? Or against your own actions, against your own circumstances, against your own interactions with the world, right? Be it a cup of coffee or be it another human being, right? Everything would and should exist in a natural, unfiltered flow of ways, right? And that is indeed kind of the point of connection, of where you're able to merge your being and not evaluate against any one thing or any one circumstance or any one being, right? And then, having done that for decades of your life, right? Right now, we are almost blindly walking the path where we have no clue we're even doing that. But that is in turn what is designing and fabricating our existence, right? Our outcomes of self are in fact fabricated by our own fabrication of definitions of us, right? So one, stop defining, right? Stop defining what you are or what any one moment does or does not mean to you. There's no definition. There's absolutely zero pretense. There's zero description of self that you should have when you're walking this life, right? When you're walking on this path. Every moment is a blank slate, right? And every moment is an opportunity for you to stop judging, for you to stop evaluating, for you to stop defining or believing, and simply being, right? And so through that recognition, through that centering of self, you can allow yourself to just simply be, right? And stop defining the moments. And so once you're able to zero in on that, once you're able to cognitively spend some time thinking, what is it that you're defining, right? What are all these subconscious definitions that you're drawing in within yourself? You can kind of close down that chatter, that unnecessary bubblehead that is constantly believing something that you have no point in marrying to, and then in fact just simply be, right? And so in that moment, every moment has an opportunity to be whatever it can be, because there are no definition placed on you or anyone else in front of you, or even the objects around you, right? How silly is that, right? We place definition. I wanted to highlight the simple concept of this, and this is how minuscule it gets, of our beliefs, right? As you walk into a room, right? Let's say you walk into your kitchen, right? You automatically, subconsciously within your core recognize, oh, if I turn on the faucet, water flows, right? Oh, and then that coffee maker stands on the counter because gravitationally it has a weight that pulls it down into the counter, right? And then, oh, if I open the pantry, then there's a hinge, and the hinge does the following, right? It just swings back and forth. The hinge does not perform any other function than swing itself back and forth, on its latch, right? So we assume the world, right, as simple as it is, to be working in a specific way. And then we derive our definition from, oh, if I take the coffee pot out, it's in my hand, right? Nothing happens to it. The liquid doesn't start boiling out, and just floats in the air like as if you're in zero gravity, right? That's not part of your definition. So therefore, everything around you behaves exactly the way you plan it, right? There's no there's no other expectations, because we have never even allowed ourselves an opportunity to believe in anything other than what we feed into ourselves, our beliefs and our truth, right? If all of us tomorrow, all of a sudden, decided that, oh, coffee makers float. If you have a coffee maker, it just floats, and so nothing else floats, but the coffee maker just happens to float, and that is the status quo of life. And as silly as that may sound, the collective consciousness of us believing that would make that so, right? And then from that point on, anytime there's a coffee maker that doesn't float, we would think that's weird. Why is that coffee maker standing on the counter and it's not doing anything other than floating? I thought all coffee makers float. And so, that is the power of belief, and that is the power of you merging your being into the center from which you can start evaluating your beliefs, right? And then in truth, then be able to produce, and experience every moment for what it is meant to be, and not for what you're limiting it to be, right? Or what you're dictating it to be. Ideally, you are manifesting the most incredible realities. But in truth is, I know in my own three-dimensional experience, those beliefs usually, lead to lesser than, right? It's usually, it is not at the top, of our self-recognition, that leads us to these beliefs, right? We're usually walking lessering ourselves in some sort of way. So if we become conscious, we can, one, start to master and allow each moment to be what is, right? But of course, there are some people who take this and take it to the opposite way, and they can manifest anything they want in their life. Because one, they are cognitively aware of what their beliefs and recognitions are doing in their life, right? And then they're able to take that, and then, as an alchemist would, then project that out and actually dictate the future and dictate the outcomes, right? And so that's manifestation is the essence of that. If centering into your being, recognizing that your thoughts and actions and evaluations and beliefs are actually creating your outcome of self, and then in form of manifestation and alchemy, be able to use that, towards a greater than future as opposed to a lesser than future. So pause and merge in into your recognition, merge into yourself, and then know what you're creating and why you're creating it. And then you can then actively choose to create something different, right? You can be the alchemist. You can be the manifester of the most unbelievable things, where coffee makers float on counters. Why not, right? Kind of be whimsical and cute. So let's start working on that. Thank you for listening.